Hi everyone, I am Chris with Daily Dose of DIY, and today I'm going to show you how to make this lovely Merry Christmas door hanger. We're going to show you how to do the stencil. I got a free SVG file for you, and I'm going to show you how an easy, super easy way to make this bow. It's not complicated, I promise. I actually sell this as a kit, so you can get everything you need. Let me switch the screen. Shipped to you in a box. I will also link this to you down below. In the description, you'll find all the links you need. Let me get the finished one out of my way. So you will get the 3 yards of ribbon, everything you need to make the bow, the sponges for paint, charcoal paint, white paint, and Mod Podge to seal it. You're going to get the berry greenery, the stencil, film, and transfer tape, and then down here at the bottom we have the wood round. So the first thing we're going to do is paint this base. Let me clear some of this stuff out of my way and we will get to painting. Okay, I'm just getting some stuff unpackaged here. I forgot to mention you also get the rope to hang it. To complete this project, you're going to need a hot glue gun, and you'll probably want like a paper plate or something to put your paint on, and that should be it. Everything else you are going to get sent to you. So I am going to, still moving stuff out of my way, get my paint shook up really well. And then I just like to pour my base right on there. Makes it easy. You can choose to paint your base gray, the charcoal gray, or white. You can reverse it from what I did. I like the dramatic look of having the background gray. So we're just taking my sponge brush and moving this paint around. Make sure you get full coverage all the way around your wood. I'm going to do the sides also, and then this can be drying as we cut our stencil and get everything else ready. It really does dry pretty quick. As long as you don't glob on too much paint. I just painted my hand. You might also want some wet wipes. That's crafter's best friend, I think, at least a painting crafter, to wipe your hands off and clean up any messes you make. You smooth it out. I always go with the grain of the wood, so the same direction the wood's grain is going, and then we're just going to smooth it out here. The sponge really helps keep it a smooth finish. Got all my edges done and I'm ready. I'm just going to set this to the side and let it dry. So that part is really super quick. And then next I'm going to show you how to get the SVG files. Okay, I have the SVG file in my free SVG library, and I will link this to you in the description. Also, you just follow this link that says get my free SVGs, click this button, enter your first name and email, and then send my password. We will email you the link to the library and the password to get in. So once you have that link, you'll be here, and you'll just enter in the password that is sent to you. And then everything in this library is free for you to use. So if you see something else you like, you can go ahead and download it. I've got time and temp guides for the heat press and some different cheat sheets and all kinds of SVG files. They're listed in alphabetical order, so we're going to scroll on down to the M's. There's also pictures there to help you find them faster. I'm reciting the alphabet in my head as I'm scrolling. Okay, M's have got to be here somewhere. Here it is. You can see the picture and the click here to download. If you have a Chrome browser, as soon as you click that, you'll see it downloading down here in the bottom. If you have an Edge or something else, it might pop up, are you sure you want to download? But if you don't see anything, it does download once you click there, so go ahead and check your downloads folder. It's going to depend on browser and computer and what you're using, but I also have instructions if you need more help there. So once it's downloaded and you get it unzipped, we're going to go in to Cricut, and then we'll click the upload button. You see I already have one there, but I can show you. Next we're going to upload image, and I have it here in my downloads folder, so I'm just going to drag it over and drop it. And then you see it here, it uploads as a cut image, which is what we want. So go ahead and click the upload button, and it will bring it on into Design Space. Then you select that image and add to canvas. So we are back in here in our canvas. It comes in at 10 inches on the canvas. The wood rounds, I think I forgot to mention, are 15 inches wide. So you can make this a little bit bigger if you want. I think the original one I made, excuse me a second, my camera controls are in the way, was about 11 inches. So I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger. And then everything else is ready to go. So you can come over here. I still have it on my Explorer. I'm using my Cricut Maker today. So I'm going to change that to Maker and then click the Make It button. This will bring you to the cut mat screen, and Cricut always puts it up in the top corner. And since we're doing a stencil, I kind of just want to move it down and give it some extra margins on the side. It makes it tight side to side, but up and down I'm going to give us a little bit more space so we don't paint over our stencil. So hopefully that will be enough, and then we click continue. I don't think I have my Cricut. Move this wood round out of the way. I don't have my Cricut opened. Oh, it's turned on. So yes, it's connected. Usually I have a hard time connecting it. We are going to cut this as regular vinyl. There is a setting in there for sorry. There is a setting in there for stencil vinyl, but I've checked the pressure settings. It's all the same. So once it is ready to go, let me go back to my overhead. I still need to get this drying thing out of my way. And then we will load our cut mats. You actually get, in this kit, 24 inches of stencil vinyl, and we're only going to use 12, so you'll have some. And that goes with the transfer tape too. So you'll have some backup in case you make a mistake or to make another project. Either one, I've got you covered. So just unwind this, and I always line it up on the sides of my mat to make sure it's going to line up. And then smooth it down. If you have a brayer, you can use that. I usually just lightly go over it with my scraper tool. And then my arrow button on my Maker is flashing. So I'm going to get that loaded. And once your mat is loaded, the C button will start flashing. Hit that and it will go. So once Cricut gets this cut, I will be back and I will show you how to weed it for a stencil. I also wanted to mention, it's done cutting now, so we're going to get to the weeding. I have how to make stencils in my best-selling guide, Conquer Your Cricut and Make Great Things. If you prefer written instructions, there's step-by-step in here. It shows you how to do monograms, all different kinds, also how to put text in images, how to layer vinyl, and then it gives you the step-by-step instructions on all the things you can do in Design Space. So if you're interested in this, it's super handy to have right next to you when you're cutting. Then you don't have to go back and find your spot in the video if you forget how to do a step. So I'm going to unload my mat, and I'm just going to leave the vinyl on here while I weed. It might be hard to see the weed lines, but this is kind of like a reverse weeding. We're not going to pull off the background. We're going to actually pull the letters out. So if you're used to making the vinyl decals, it's the opposite. We're going to leave the background there. I'm just going to make sure all those little tiny bits stay there. And we're going to pull out the words. So you want to leave the centers of your E's and A's and all the little extra flourish points in there. Most of them should come out pretty easy. There's just a couple little spots like that E and the thing in the M. Oh, it doesn't want to come off. There's another little thing in the H, and if it wants to come up when you try to weed it, I just hold it down with my weeding tool as I'm pulling up. Script fonts with all these little bits are definitely a bit harder to weed than your big chunky fonts, but with a little bit of patience, it will come out. A did good. Leave that spot in the S. He came all the way off. If a piece comes off you don't want it to, I guess that's backwards, you can easily use your weeding tool to get it back on. Gotta spin it around. Wrong way, buddy. There, good as new. And then don't forget your I. And it's ready. So when you're weeded, it should look like this. I got a couple bubbles in there still. So I'm going to smooth them down. Get my scraper tool. It's fine if they are not around your letters. You want your letters to be down smooth as possible. So I'm going to scrape my bubbles out of the way. Go down. And once we're bubble free, then we can add the transfer tape. Mostly bubble free. You can still see some there. To do the transfer tape, once you get it started, that's the hardest part. I just pull off an edge. This makes it super easy. One edge and fold the backing down on that edge. And then line it up with the bottom and smooth that part down. This part might have been easier to take it off the mat, but we'll make do. So I'm gonna have to hold my mat with one hand, but pull the backing off as you scrape down the center. And your transfer tape will go on nice and smooth. And then you can just scrape out from the center to the sides for the edging. So now that that's good and stuck, I'm going to flip the mat over to remove it. So don't heavily bend your mat, but it is better to do it this way so your vinyl doesn't curl and you don't get more bubbles. If you just give it a slight bend, you won't break your mat. I've had that mat probably forever. Okay, let's double check and make sure my base is dry. Dry enough. And I'm going to line up how I want it to be. There's going to be the greenery and bow up there, so we want to go more to the bottom. So I'm just putting my finger here to make sure it doesn't go over the edge. My edge is right there. I think that is good placement. So we're kind of going to do this the same way. I'm going to start peeling off the backing, and I'm going to fold that backing back so that it sticks here and it doesn't move. It stays placed where I wanted it placed, and then you can flip it over and remove the backing. You want to make sure all the blue stays there. You can see here, maybe, is it coming in the camera? I've got some that's not wanting to stick. You can see it's still stuck to that mat, so just lay it back down. And give it a scrape and try again. If it still doesn't want to, you can kind of use your fingers or your weeding tool just to press it back down in place. So once your backing is off, I'm going to hold this out at about a 45-degree angle and again scrape down the center to lay it down, and then go out to your edges and burnish really well. Burnish means scrape really hard because now we want it to stick to the wood. Once you feel like that is good, just knocked something off my table. Start peeling back the transfer tape, and if you keep it back, like if you pull up, it might pull some of your stencil off, but if you keep it down and just pull slowly, everything should stay stuck pretty well. The transfer tape in here is Oracle brand. It is one of my favorites. One of the reasons is it's not super sticky. It's just sticky enough, but also, if I can figure out what I did with my backing, I just tossed stuff to the side as I craft. But put this back on your backing and you can save it. I'm going to set it back there for now. You can save it and use it over and over. You can probably get 6 to 10 uses out of it. So now I'm just smoothing down around the letters. There's a couple bubbles there. I want to make sure those bubbles go away. And we are ready to stencil. I have just an old piece of cardboard here that I'm going to pour my paint on. You can use a paper plate or whatever you want. And I'm going to put just a blob of paint on there. That's probably way too much. And then dab the end of my sponge into that paint. You can see here, there's a big glob on it. We do not want big globs. You then want to dab most of that paint back off. So you just see a sponge. It's hard to see because I'm using white paint and a white sponge, but most of that paint comes back off. And then you dab it on your stencil. Most of the time, stencils bleed because there is too much paint on it. So once you refill your sponge with paint, dab most of it back off. It will be pretty quick to do. It might take 2 coats. It might take 3 coats because it is white on dark, but it goes super fast because the paint dries super fast when you don't use so much. Another thing you can do, which I think I discuss in my book, that is another option, is take that gray paint, here's my sponge, once you have the stencil down, and paint a gray line over it, like that. Now I'm going to have to wait for that to dry, but if your stencil will bleed, if you paint the base coat color first before you do the white, it's going to bleed in that base coat color, and that's going to help seal your stencil, so when you go back over it with the white, it won't bleed white. I hope that makes sense. And over here is what I was talking about. Be careful on your edges because we got close to the edge. You don't, if you want to go over the edge, and then you'll have a white line of paint on your door hanger, which you could easily, if it happens, you could go back and cover it back up with the charcoal. Okay, I am just going to keep dabbing, and I imagine it's not so fun to watch 5 minutes of this, so I will come back after I have all of my coats on and show you what it looks like. Okay, I've got it all painted. It took about 3 coats, and the coats you put on there can be dependent on what you like. Like less coats is going to give it more distressed look, or you could go for the full coverage. So now we're ready to remove the stencil, and my wood grain is going this way. So I want to go opposite of that. If I go side to side with the wood grain, you have more of a chance of peeling up that background color. So I want to go up and down, and I can see some's already peeling up already. It is probably a better idea to paint your base and give it a couple of hours to kind of cure and stick. But for tutorial purposes, I kept on trucking. You can see, let me get it up there. Yes. So you can see part of it came up. It is super easy to go back and paint that if that does happen to you, if you don't wait the time, or you can leave it as is. So it, again, that distressed look, if that's the look you like. If you don't like the distressed look though, I would allow your base to dry longer than I did. So if you're making door hangers or you get this kit, paint the base as soon as you get it, and then when you have time to craft, where'd my weeding tool? There it is. When you have time to cut the stencil, then you can come back and do that part. I'm just going to use my weeding tool to help get out the rest. Come on. And you can see the lines are still nice and crisp because we didn't use too much paint. I need to get that center of the E up. And when you pull the centers out and the rest, you kind of want to go side by side. I help my sideways. I had my daughter help me do it once, and she was just like straight down in there, and it left holes in the board. So you just kind of want to pick it up from the side. That one does not want to come off. And then you can see still nice crisp lines, even if our gray came up a little bit. Oh, I missed this part of the M. If you do get bleeds, you can either get a super tiny paintbrush and go back in the gray and fix it. I find it's easier to use a toothpick and just kind of dab away the bleeds, because a brush will spread out. You can see the bristles spreading out, and you might go into your letters how you don't want. But a toothpick, you just dab, 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 and it covers it up real quick. So I am going to right now just go back and retouch some of the gray that came up, and then we're going to get to making the bow. Once I get done with this, I will come back and I will show you how to make the bow and get the greenery glued on. So heat up your hot glue guns. That part's next. Okay, I got all my touch-ups done, and it's looking back to nice and solid color. One thing I forgot to mention, I kind of blew off my board at the beginning and dusted it off, but with the packaging, with that crinkle paper that comes in there, paint will not stick to dust. So you really want to take a microfiber cloth or a damp cloth and just wipe that dust off of there, because that will also cause your base coat to peel up if you painted over some dust. So make sure your board is clean first. We're going to set this over to the side, and next we're going to make our bow. So I'm going to use a little measuring tape and get my ribbon out of here. You get 3 yards of ribbon in this kit and the little Chanel thing that's going to help us to tie it. The key to making this type of bow is the wired, which this is a wired ribbon, is to have wired ribbon edges. And we're going to make it, sorry, that's in my way, 6 inches wide. So I'm just, you can eyeball it, but I'm going to just use my tape measure to get it started. And then I am folding it back and forth for those 6 inches. So on that end, fold. Make sure I get up here so you can see when you get to that end, fold. And we're just going to go back and forth and keep folding, keeping the folds all about the same length until we get to the end of the ribbon. Let me move my paint out of the way in case it comes up here and gets into the paint. So I'm just folding back and forth, all the same lengths. And once you get to the end, kind of bunch them all together. We're going to pull this end down and you're going to pull the top end down. Make sure they're all stacked and straight. This step isn't always required, but I think it helps the bows look a little bit better. So in about the center, I'm just going to cut a little bit. Might not cut all the way through all the layers with my little scissors. So I just made a little slice there, and on the opposite end, I'm going to make another little slice. Make sure it makes it through all the layers. And then we're going to take our Chanel piece and put it through those slices. This kind of just helps bunch your center a little bit easier. And we're going to pull it tight so it's cinched. So I'm going to flip it over to get to the back. And cinch that up as tight as I can. And then twist. So now your front should look kind of like this. And then we can take, here's our tails, we'll pull them down. Each loop, there should be a loop in there now, and you just kind of pull it out and twist up, and then you can use the wires to help form your bow. So I'm pulling my loop, giving it a twist, and then that one's going up. You can twist some down. I usually go back and forth between up and down. The tail's getting in my way. So open up your loop, twist, and pull down. Open up a loop, twist up, and go back and forth until all your loops are opened. And then we're going to do the other side the same. Once all your loops are open, you can usually see one that's gonna look good in the center. And then we can just floof it up. Over here, they're all kind of bunched together. With the wire, you can really pull it and shape it however you want. And that's why it's best to make ribbons with wired edges. That is starting to take shape and look good. Now, if you're making a wreath, it's handy to keep this back because then you can attach it. But we are hot gluing ours on, so I'm going to cut off the ends of those and get them out of the way. Let's this one do it back here. Then you pull your tails down and we can fold them in half. You can have a longer tail if you want. I like a shorter tail for this bow. Fold it in half and cut at an upward angle to give yourself the tails. And then once we get this glued down, we can shape it some more, but it's starting to take the shape of a bow. So let's bring our wood round back, and we're going to make sure your hot glue guns are heated up. Mine is good. On the florals, it kind of has an end here. I already took that one off and I started on this one. If you twist it back and forth and just work with it, they will break off pretty easily. And I'm going to make mine, the florals are also positionable, so you can make it however you want. I'm going to make my berries face down. And I'm just kind of going to look for the center. That looks good, so we're going to apply a lot of glue and glue them down. Okay, I'm still holding these down until the glue dries up a little bit. Now they are stuck pretty good. And we can add more glue straight to the center. I always give generous amounts of glue. Make sure your ribbon tails are down and then glue your ribbon right in the center. Once your ribbon's stuck, then you can really fluff it up again and make it look nice and pretty with your center and all the loops evenly spaced around. And that is done. I can mess with ribbons forever. I also forgot the Mod Podge is included if you want to hang this on your outside door before you put the greenery on, and after the paint has dried for a while, give it a coat of Mod Podge to help seal it and protect it. You also have the, where'd it go? Rope that you can hang it with. So if you flip it back over, hold please, I need to grab another glue stick. There we go. And again, put generous amounts of hot glue. And just glue your edges and the sides down. Probably didn't need all that glue in the center, but you want to glue it all the way down the sides to help it stick good, because this is a pretty thick, heavy-duty rope. Just let that set a minute, and then you're ready to hang it. So, Thank you so much for watching. Everything you need is going to be in the description down below. Here is our finished project. So you learned how to make a stencil, how to make a bow, and everything you need to do this, except for your hot glue gun, is included. I can't find my camera. Is included in the kit, which I will link to you down below too. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll be back with more Cricut tutorials soon.